You're watching Monty TV. I'm Jackie Karsh, sitting down now with Michael Brown. He's a partner at Fenwick and West. Michael, thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks for having me. Always great to be here.
What are some of the most compelling industry trends that you're seeing?
Certainly everybody's talking about AI these days. That's the compelling one. You see in the Reddit S1 that was filed, the big part of their story is talking about AI, and that's going to be the large part of the growth. So you're seeing a lot of companies, even companies that you might not think of as AI companies, telling an AI story to try and help drive valuation. So I certainly think that's a big one. The other one is probably the antitrust regime, which has had a pretty big impact on M&A in the tech sector. We saw the big Figma Adobe deal broke up. And you're just seeing the antitrust overlay, not just from the US, but even internationally, really have a dampening effect on potentially large acquisitions.
What do you think is necessary regulation? Obviously, there's so much that AI can do for good, but there's also some possible abuses.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see a lot of really smart folks on both sides of that, right? And how overly regulating AI could really take away the advantages that American companies have on AI between OpenAI or some of the others. And so you don't want to go too far in the legislating it, such that it could take away the advantage we have. You saw India just rolled out legislation that could have a really dampening effect on that country's ability to have AI products. So I don't think we want to go too far. The question will be, can we find some type of compromise that appropriately governs the really scary aspects of it while giving folks free rein to develop game-changing, life-changing AI?
What's the current market for tech-focused law firms?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think certainly we're seeing things very busy for early stage companies. I'm seeing more entrepreneurs starting companies now than I have in years. I think in large part because maybe their prior company wasn't doing as well. Their options aren't quite as in the money as they used to be. So you have folks starting new companies. Obviously, a lot of them have to do with AI, but not all of them. And the ecosystem and the fundraising environment for early stage startups really hasn't changed. That money has continued to flow into companies. So I think, in the long-term impact on the tech ecosystem, we're setting ourselves up well where these companies are going to grow and be the next behemoths over the next 5 to 10 years. And so I think it's really good. We're seeing a lot of activity there. Obviously, capital markets is a little slow. M&A's kind of choppy right now, but I think we're hoping for a pickup in M&A in the back half of the year, as well as maybe some of the companies that raised at large valuations a few years ago have run out of cash and options, and now they're being forced to do M&A.
We know investors are sitting on a lot of cash, though. Yeah. Do you predict some transactional activity?
Yeah, well, I mean, with investors, OpenView just announced yesterday that they were returning 70% of the money from that fund, right? So I think you're seeing a lot of venture funds struggle with, they've raised massive funds, but they're not deploying it at the historical paces. And you have LPs saying, what are you doing sitting on all the money? So I think there's going to be continued discussions between LPs and the venture funds on what are they doing with their massive hoards of cash. I do think investors, I was talking to several investors last week, and they want to deploy. It's finding the companies that are worthwhile investing into at right-sized valuations, right? Investing into companies that raised in 2020, 21 have wildly outsized valuations. The cap table might be messy. And so I think a lot of investors are saying maybe not those companies and looking for a different wave.
Okay, final question. Play doctor for me for a second. What's your diagnosis on the overall health of the tech sector?
I think this year is going to be a year where there are companies that, kind of need to find homes, right? Maybe that's being acquired. Maybe that's unfortunately shutting down, right? I think we're going to see a wave of companies that frankly can't find new fundraising, they can't be acquired, and they're just going to have to close their doors. I think that's going to be good for the long-term ecosystem because they're sucking up oxygen right now. They're out there trying to fundraise, they're out there trying to find buyers, they're taking up the board's time and the investors' time trying to help them manage through those. I think flushing some of those through the system so we have more time and attention on this new wave of companies is going to be great. So I think we get through this year, 2025 will be a new year, a wave of IPOs and M&A.